Welcome to the new episode of BCD Tech. In this episode, I will show you the teardown parts view and the reassembly of Nokia Asha 501. I am Dr. BC and you are watching BCD Tech. This is my Nokia Asha 501 recently purchased from Nokia, India. Now, in this video, I will show you the teardown parts view and reassembly of this phone. Before that, I will show you the layout of this phone. As you can see, this is your power on and off button. You can press this button for a few seconds to turn on or turn off your device. As you can see that this Nokia Asha is now turning on. Above that you will find the volume rocker button. On the top you will find 3.5mm headphone socket, and here is your data syncing port. You can use a mini USB cable to synchronize your Asha data with your PC. Now above that you will find a Nokia charging port, that is your standard Nokia charging port. On the left of the phone you will find nothing, and on the bottom you will find nothing. On the back you will find 3.2 megapixel rear camera, and this is button to release your back cover. On the front you will find only one hardware button, that is your back button. On the top you will find a receiver speaker, this is, and there is couple sensors here. Now to turn off your Nokia Asha, press this power button for few seconds and swap this down to turn off your Nokia Asha 501. Now press this button to release your back panel. Now take this back panel apart. Now release the battery from this notch. Now you will find a sticker, Nokia sticker, on your back. Now I will show you the model number. The model number is 501 and it is RM902, and this unit is made in India. This is your SIM tray 1. The SIM tray 2 is a push type SIM tray. Now this is your micro SD slot. You can press this to release your micro SD card. Now I will show you this micro SD card. This is pre-installed on your device. It contains certain application, that is free application from Nokia application store. Now to open this Nokia Asha 501 you have to unscrew all of these 4 screws. Now I will show you the special screwdriver to unscrew this 4 screw. This is a special screwdriver that is used to unscrew your Nokia Asha 501. As you can see that this is a Nokia special screwdriver. I will show you the tip of this screwdriver. Here you can see that this is a special type of screwdriver that is used to unscrew these 4 screws. Here is your case opening tool. That is a simple plastic case opening tool. You can also use this sharp plastic as a case opening tool, or you can use this guitar pick as a case opening tool. You also need this tweezer or a sharp face tweezer. Now I will show you the how to unscrew this 4 screw from your Nokia Asha 501. Now just go about 6 turn to unscrew this 4 screw. Now I will show you the first turn, second turn, third turn, fourth turn, fifth turn and sixth turn, and this screw is unscrew. One turn, second turn, third turn, fourth turn, fifth turn and sixth turn. This screw is also got unscrewed. Now as you can see that all of these 4 screws are unscrewed. Make sure that these 4 screws are out of your back panel. Now you can see that this back panel is attached to your LCD at this point, so you have to separate your back panel from this cut. As you can see that on the top corner you will find a space to separate out the back panel from your LCD frame. Now as you can see that you need a hard plastic to separate out. Now I will using this hard plastic to separating this back panel from your LCD frame. Now run this plastic throughout so that you can find certain plastic locks which is holding your back cover to your LCD frame. I am trying to find that locks. As you can see that the first lock is at in between these two volume buttons. Now I will try to unlock that. Now as you can see that this lock button is separated. Now the next button is below your power on button and next below. Now on the bottom you will find no lock, and on this side you will find certainly few locks. Here is the final lock that you will find on your Nokia Asha 501. Now as you can see that there is certainly certain locks on top of this phone. Now as you can see that this back cover is separated out from your LCD frame. Now I will show you the component that is on your back panel. Now as you can see that this is your plastic, that is your metal SIM tray. Here is your camera cutout. There is no lens or glass here. This is your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna, and on the below you will find these two pads. That two pads is for 2G or a GSM antenna. That is your 2G or GSM antenna. Now to separate out this loudspeaker, just use just sharp plastic. Now I will show you the model, that is GV 2.3 G7 SE1. That is your main loudspeaker. Now just see what's remain on this back panel. Here you can see that your Nokia charging pin, and you can see that this is a very standard pin that you can find easily in your local market. Now this is your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth antenna, and this is your 2G and GSM antenna. Now it is very difficult to separate out this antenna from your back panel. As you can tell, it is stitched to your back frame. Now you can separate this button from back panel by pressing it here. Now this button is separated out from your back panel. Now just take this apart. Now nothing more on this back panel. Now let's take this apart. Let's see what is on this LCD frame. Now to lift this motherboard from your LCD frame, you have to disconnect this ribbon connector. Use your plastic tool to separate this ribbon connector from your main motherboard. This is your 2G or GSM antenna connection point. Now I have to lift this motherboard up from this digitizer or glass frame. Use your plastic tool to lift this motherboard from your digitizer or a glass frame. As you can see that this motherboard is locked to your digitizer frame. Certainly there is certain plastic locks. Now here you can find the first plastic lock. Just put your tweezer in between this LCD and motherboard and just lift this motherboard above that point, and the second lock is here. Again do the same to lift your motherboard from your LCD or digitizer frame. Now do the same on both sides. Now you have separated your motherboard from your digitizer frame. Now just place this digitizer frame apart. Now I will show you the main motherboard. Here is your main microphone. On the back you will find a series of components. Now as you can see that there is certain metal frame which is holding your certain components behind that. You have to lift off this metal frame so that you can see what are the components that is behind this metal frame. As you can see that this metal frame is soldered to your main motherboard. So to separate out this metal frame you will need some hot air. Now again this is your second metal frame and this is your third metal frame. All of these metal frames that contain certain components behind it. Now this is your main vibrator motor and this is your main camera unit. This is your USB syncing port. On the front you will find these certain components here. This is your 3.5mm headphone socket. Now to lift off this LCD from this motherboard you have to put your plastic tool in between this motherboard and LCD frame and gently lift the LCD from motherboard. And now I will show you the LCD model. This model is 48514546 MP 1.1 LS300Q02 SD01X LN38900ES. That is your model number of this LCD. As you can see the LCD is quite thin, very thin and low weight. This is specialty of this Nokia display. The LCD of this all of these Nokia phones are very thin. Now I will show you the main motherboard. As you can see this is a grounding gold plated connectors. The model number of this motherboard is UMT M1I332. This is your grounding connectors, that is grounding your digitizer frame. Now I will show you the silver pad on your digitizer. This is two silver pad at which these ground connectors are connected. Now this is your main hardware button, that is a back button. Here this is power on off button, this is volume down button, this is volume up button. That is your 3.5mm headphone connector. This is your digitizer connector and this is again a ground connector that is connected to this silver pad for grounding your digitizer. Now you will find certain tiny components here. On the back of this motherboard you will find the series of components. Now let's see. This is your main camera. Now I will try to separate out this camera from your main motherboard. For that you have to gently press this metal locks and in the same time try to lift the camera up. It is very difficult. Now I will try gently unlock this metal and pulling this camera up. As you can see that the camera is now relieved from your right side. Now I will try the same from the left hand side. Now as you can see that this plastic tip is quite thick, so I am facing certain problem. Now I will try with this tweezer. Gently unlock this metal and try to lift this camera. Now as you can see that this camera is separated out from your main motherboard. As you can see that there is certain connectors. If we will try, this is your 3.2 megapixel sensor. It is connected. As you can see that there are 6 into 2 12 connecting point that is connected to a motherboard here. Now let's take this apart. Now let's see what remains on this motherboard. I will zoom in so that you can see all the components quite easily. This okay, this is your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna pads. That is 3.5 millimeter headphone socket, USB data syncing port. That is your charging connecting points, test points. That is your main vibrator motor. This is certainly certain components is behind that. As you can see that this is again soldered to your main motherboard, so you have to apply heat to separate all this metal jack. And let's to see the component behind that. These were test point connect pads. This is SIM tray 1, that is a SIM tray 2. This is a push type SIM tray. Again the metal behind that you will find the certain connectors. Now I will show you the IC number of it is 2326 IC. This is your micro SD slot and this is your battery connectors. On the bottom you will find the extra antenna port, 2G GSM antenna pads. This is your CMOS battery, power on off button, volume down button, volume up button. This is your testing pads, main ground pad, nothing more. As you can see that this is your loudspeaker pads. I think there is certain component here, but Nokia has discarded later on this component from this Nokia Asha 501. As you can see that this metal jack is soldered to your main motherboard, so you have to apply heat to separate out this metal. Nothing more on this motherboard. Now let's take this apart and see this digitizer or glass frame. Now as you can see that on this digitizer you will find the main speaker and the digitizer ICs and the connector points. Now I will show you the IC's number of this digitizer, that is CY8CTMA140LQ1 series IC, and the second IC is TA88320. Now I will try to read out the part number of this receiver speaker. Now let's read out the number, that is A40B3207778411R4. that is your part number of your receiver speaker. Now I will try to separate out this PCB, that is ribbon connector, from your main frame. Now for that you have to use a sharp plastic tool and just insert in between this ribbon connector and plastic. Now just pull it up from your digitizer. Now as you can see this PCB is separated out from your front frame. Now I will show you how to remove this glass from your LCD frame. Now for that gently press this glass and make a place so that you can insert your plastic tool, and as you can see that this glass is now get separating out from your main frame. Now go through all of this corner and be careful at the top part. As you can see that there are certain components or a ribbon connector here itself. It is very high chances that it can be proc, so it is better to apply certain pressure so that the LCD, that is a glass, is separated out from your front frame. Now as you can see that this glass is separated out. Now it is time to pull this ribbon PCB from the back end. Now I am just pressing this toward the glass end so that it can be released out. Now it is on the back side. Now as you can see that there is a double-sided tape still attached to your main frame. So first of all separate out this. Now it is very easy to take out this ribbon connector from your main frame. Now the digitizer and glass is separated out from your front frame. This is your digitizer with your glass. Now you can see this ribbon connector. Now I want to reuse this digitizer and glass, so I have to reuse this adhesive also. Now I am just trying to stick this readhesive back to your digitizer so that it can be reused again. This is your main digitizer that is attached to your glass. Now take this apart. Now let's see what remain on this main frame, that is your digitizer frame. As you can see that this is your main receiver speaker. Now to separate out this receiver speaker, you have to go or try to lift this receiver speaker. I think I have broken this receiver speaker. Now let's put its back. Now let's see how to separate out this. Now use a sharp tweezer to separate out this receiver speaker from this end. Now put your tweezer here and now put the tweezer here and try to lift this receiver speaker from your main frame. It is very easy to separate out this receiver speaker. Now this receiver speaker is get separated from your main board, as I have already read out the number of this receiver speaker, so need not to read it again. Now just take this receiver speaker apart for a while, and now let's see the main frame. Now there is nothing left on this main frame. Now let's take this apart. Now this completed your disassembly process. Now let's see the parts of this Nokia Asha 501. That is your back panel with 4 screws. That is your 3.2 megapixel rear camera, 4 gigabit micro SD card. That is your main battery. That is your loudspeaker. That is your charging port, push button, hardware button, receiver speaker, LCD, back frame, motherboard. That is your glass with digitizer. That is your front frame. This is all the parts of this Nokia Asha 501. Now this completes your parts view. Now move to the next part of this video, that is a reassembly process. First of all, I will take this glass portion. Now it's time to readjust this adhesive so that I can reuse this adhesive to bond this glass with your front frame. Now I will try to readjust all of this adhesive so that I can reuse this adhesive to stitch your glass with your main frame. I can also use this flat tweezer to move this adhesive so that it can reach out this corner point. You can also use a double-sided tape. Still I want to use this adhesive back, so I am trying to reuse this adhesive. Make sure there is nothing left on your main transparent part of this glass so that it can interrupt your LCD, or it may seem very odd when you are viewing your Nokia Asha 501. Now again, also now it's time to put back this glass back to your main frame. Just put this PCB first and then place this digitizer back to your main frame. Now it is very easy. Now press gently from all of this side so that it can settle quite easily on your main frame. Now as you can see that this glass is now well settled on your main frame. Now it's time to put this receiver speaker back to your phone. Now let's see. As you can see that there is nothing whether you can put this connecting pads upward or downward. I will certainly put this connecting pads upward as it is as previous. Now this receiver speaker is back to your main frame. Now place this PCB back to your main frame. Now if you're happy with this alignment, then use your plastic tool to push this PCB back to your main frame. Now just clean all of the dust that is remains on your glass. If you are happy with that cleaning, now it's time to place this LCD back to your main motherboard. For that you have to align this LCD properly so that it can be settled on your digitizer frame also. Now as you can see that this ribbon connector is connected here, so this LCD is aligned in this way. Now I will is certain any mark on this main motherboard so that LCD can be aligned with respect to that mark. As you can see that there is no such a mark on this main motherboard, so it is very difficult to align this LCD with your main motherboard. I think this LCD must be placed in this main frame. Now you have to put this red dot upward. Now LCD is attached to your main frame. As you can see, this is slight white mark. Now just lift this LCD from your main frame. Now just lift from this ribbon connector and just rub that white adhesive. It is very difficult in these circumstances to clean this LCD properly. Now I will go through this dirty LCD so that I can reassemble this whole Nokia Asha 501. Now it's time to place this motherboard back. Now put this back to your main frame and press it gently down. Now it's time to connect this ribbon connector back to your main motherboard. Please be careful while connecting this ribbon connector because it is very frangal. Now this ribbon connector is connected to your main motherboard. I have missed this part, so I have to make a space so that I can place this end key. Now for that I have again to lift off this main motherboard. Now it is now quite easy to lift this motherboard from this end. Now place this home button. Place this home button in this way. That is your back button. Now put this motherboard back to your main frame and gently press this motherboard so that it can be aligned properly. Now it's time to connect this ribbon connector. Now ribbon connector is connected. Now it's time to place back this camera. Make sure that it is aligned properly. This notch is in down direction. Now put and then press this camera back to your main motherboard. Now this front portion is ready. Now go to this rear portion. Now it's time to put this button back. As you can see that this button is not symmetrical. Just try with one and if it doesn't go, then turn and then turn and push it back. Now it is attached to your rear frame. Now it's time to put back this charging pin. Now as you can see that it is not aligned, so just take it and then place it back. Now it is time to place this receiver speaker. Now as you can see that receiver speaker can go in only one direction because it is not symmetrical. Now let's see how this motherboard is placed. Now as you can see that this connecting point must be in left side so that it can be connected to its connecting pad on the motherboard. Now nothing more on this back panel, so it's time to put this back to your main frame. Now just place and press this back frame to your main frame. Once you happy with this ending, now it's time to put screw back, again starting from top left, then top right, and down right, finally down left. Now it's time to place this memory card back and this battery back to your Nokia Asha 501. Now place this back cover back. Now press this power button for few seconds to turn on your Nokia Asha 501. As you can see that this Nokia 501 is booting up. Now let's see whether this digitizer is working or not. As you can see that there is certain dust remain between this digitizer and LCD. Now let's see, now this digitizer is working well. This completed the tear down, parts view and reassembly of Nokia Asha 501. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. The subscription link is shown on your screen. For more video on this Nokia Asha 501, keep watching BCD Tech. Thank you.